All right, good morning, everyone. Here we are on this is New Year's Eve, everyone. Happy New Year's Eve. Sunday, December 35th. Sunday, December 31st, the last day of 2023. And I'm here with Marcy, and this is our Sunday morning Zoom call for our ministry, psychiatricsobriety.com. Who are we? What do we do? This is my 5-minute introduction. My name is Kenneth Price. And long story short, I emerged from a hopeless situation. And my purpose by hosting these Zoom calls is to inspire and encourage others who have also been given this disempowering narrative that you're mentally ill and you need to be on meds for the rest of your life. It was not true in my story. And if it's not true, if it wasn't true in my story, well, let's see if we can burst this bubble. It's an allopathic narrative. And in the old paradigm, it might be true. In the old paradigm, in the world of time and space and senses, maybe it is true. However, I was graced to find a completely emerged world where it wasn't true. And if anybody, if just one person wants to join me, in the walk across this bridge to that new world, I'll keep hosting these Zoom calls. And so far this morning, New Year's Eve, Marcy wants to join me. Is it easy? It doesn't need to be difficult. Because if we go together, then the comradeship will take us across that bridge a lot quicker and a lot swifter. And that's the whole reason for this ministry. Is I was shown that when two or more are gathered. So, what is my story? I think I just told it to you. 25 years on mountains of psych meds. And I was ready to get out the gun. Shoot myself, jump off a bridge. Take the phenobarbital. But the angel showed up and said, "No, kiddo, that's not written in your script. And we're going to help you get off these meds. And we're going to show you a better way because you got a purpose in this world and you got a mission." It wasn't architecture. It wasn't construction, although I still do those. It's extension and it's love. All right. So before I start the Zoom call, I need to preface that I'm dealing with a sacred cow, which is called psychiatry. So, for the purpose of disclaimers, we're not here to protest psychiatry. As a matter of fact, in the old paradigm, maybe it's saving lives, okay? We're not here to say anything's wrong with psychiatry because, again, those pills may have saved my life as a young man because the trauma was too overwhelming and I didn't have the coping mechanisms. All I'm saying here is that in my testimony, after 25 years, the pills were making me sicker. They were stunting my growth, and I was ready. So maybe this ministry is more for people who are ready. And that being said, maybe we can help psychiatry. You know what my psychiatrist told me once? Very kind man. He said, "I don't want to be doing this." He said, "If it were up to me, it'd all be well, and I could go back to my homeland and open up a coffee house." Talk about honesty there. All right. So the way I start this off is with the healer's prayer, because I'm a Course in Miracles student. It's by the grace of God, the metaphysics of the Course in Miracles, many different paths. All paths lead to Rome. Mine was chosen to be the Course in Miracles, and the Course in Miracles teachers, slowly walked my thinking out of that looping and into the light. I call it out of the dark forest. I call it a trail of breadcrumbs out of the dark forest. So I start every Zoom call off with the healer's prayer, which comes from the Course in Miracles. And it goes like this. We are here only to be truly helpful, and we are here to represent him or her who sent us. We do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he or she who sent us will direct us. We are content to be wherever he or she wishes, knowing that he or she goes there with us. And we will be healed as we let him or her teach us how to heal. Now, something I got to make very clear is this Zoom call is for Kenneth and Marcy this morning. Marcy has kept this whole ministry alive because she is finding value in it. She says to me that it's helpful. She says many different things to me that otherwise, I may have thrown in the towel before now and gone in a different direction. Marcy, this is for you right now, and this is all about you. You've shown up. I've seen you go to Cal. I've seen you now on Calico Zoom calls. The seed has been planted and the seed is germinating. And I just want to thank you for your courage to to do this, because this is hard work. Especially, I mean, you've seen me in the last couple of Zoom calls, and you know how hard it is for me right now, especially as I go through the last, I don't know, last, as I go through the belief in specialness, especially in a cohabitation situation where I can, David Hoffmeister's made it very clear. If you want to fast track, get into a relationship. So apparently, my prayer for a fast track has landed me in the middle of a situation where I have to face my thoughts and beliefs on specialness, and it's by the grace of God that you're showing up, Marcy, because you're my savior this morning. I've said too much. I've already gone on for 7 minutes. How are you?
I'm here. I'm here. It's I do find a lot of value in this. And there's not a lot of people here showing up, and that's okay. It's really okay, because these archives are like a gold mine. And I know that for me, like my experience, when I've had I haven't been able to, reach out to make a phone call or feel like I could connect with somebody, because I was having phone problems and whatnot. I was able to go to the archives, and it's just really comforting to like hear your voice and to listen to other people talking about their experiences, because so many times it's reflective of what I'm going through. And that's why I'm here, because it's helpful for me. And so I know that it's helpful for others. And, you know, I'm committed to be as honest as I possibly know how to be, you know? And I've had so much darkness coming up. It's been really, at first it was overwhelming, and now it's just kind of interesting. And when I say darkness, so I'm talking about self-harm thoughts. And I just want to like lean into that a little bit, because I think it's a common experience. And I also think that a lot of people are so like reserved about talking about it, like expressing it. And I I recognized that I was having this darkness kind of come up. And for me, um, like, for example, um, I know like things to do to when I'm having self-harm thoughts, which hasn't happened actually for a really long time. So it's kind of interesting that it's coming up now. So it's kind of like I sort of create like a padded cell for myself, like, put some safety measures into divide, like, and I was walking my dog, and there's a busy road by where I live. And the thought just came up into my awareness. And I'm so grateful that I'm aware of my thoughts now, because before this, it would have just come up. I would have felt it, and I don't know if I would have acted on it or not. But now I have a contrast in me, because I know what peace feels like. So I'm walking my dog, and there's this really busy road. And the thought just came into my mind, wouldn't it be wonderful to just step out into traffic just really quick, so they couldn't stop or anything. And I thought, wow, huh. Okay. So let's kind of look at that. So I started looking at it. And of course, I immediately felt so ashamed, like, oh my God, like, I'm a Course in Miracles student. I'm doing my lessons. I'm working on tapering. I'm working on really making the peace of God a single desire. And I thought, well, this thought really, what a contrast. And the shame that I felt around it was so thick that I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be ashamed of this because this is representative of the ego thought system. And why should I be ashamed of a thought system? And if I have this thought, there must be others, seeming others, that have the same thought. And so I'm going to just shine a light on it. And I don't really know like where I'm going with this, but I just want to make an opening to anyone that's feeling that level of conflict within themselves and darkness, and just say, you know what? You're not alone. Like, you're not alone.
We used to have this term in the 12 steps, which was it's very applicable here. And it went like this: be kind to your sponsee because they could become your sponsor someday. And right now, Marcy, I'm absorbing everything you have to say. And I'm thanking you because the thought of walking under the traffic crossed my awareness. And I'm not ashamed to admit mine. And you're right. By coming forward in public, others will. This is the power of the 12 steps. We went into a room full of anonymity, and we shared our private thoughts at group level, and the powerful, frightening thoughts. They weren't roaring like a lion when we left; they were squealing like mice.
Yes.
We've all got
Yes.
them, and for some reason, Marcy, you and I and all the others who have chosen this path. And I said this to somebody on a call this morning, everyone's got these thoughts, but many people are at various levels in their pregnancy. They're either in the first month or the eighth or the 7th month, 8th month. For those of us who are now, excuse my language, just we're in the delivery room and all hell is breaking loose. We can't hold these private thoughts out anymore. But along with all these private thoughts, I'll come out and say it. I dated a doctor once, and he said giving birth is disgusting. He said there shouldn't piss everywhere. So now that we're in the delivery room, 9 months, the contractions have started. We're going to give birth to this, which is our Christ itself. And along with it comes the shit and piss, which are all these private thoughts, which the midwives and the doctors don't see this as a mess because they know new life is coming. They know it's a signal of our Christ itself. Yeah. Can't have the Christ self, and still harbor one small. And this is very applicable for this specific ministry because in the old paradigm, when this stuff bubbles up, it's wrong and bad. It's shameful and it's guilty and it's just not acceptable. It's and so the medications, for many of us, can temporally hold this stuff down. But like one of my teachers in the Willamette Valley, who channeled an entity called Xantron. Xantron had, didn't come into this dimension with a whole lot to say, but Xantron did have a very wise phrase that the forces of evolution are unstoppable. Marcy, you and I and Jody and the beloved and Chris and all the others, our time has come, and it's called wake up, it's called emerge. I don't care what it's called, but our time has come, and this is a time of great courage, but it's also a time of great celebration. It's a time of the entrance into adulthood, it's many different things for all of us.
Yes.
Is it painful? Well, you look at, go to the archives of the last 3 Zoom calls. Has Kenneth been very well assembled? And is he still well assembled? Kenneth can do it now because Kenneth, has been getting support. The support is accelerating. I had a call with, I've been talking with someone on a regular basis and getting the encouragement I need to continue to because nothing's going wrong in my story except for what I'm thinking and believing and feeling. And she gave me a huge, jolt of encouragement, followed by some truth, which said that she still needs to reach out for her support network.
Yes.
And so I wrote down many different things while you were talking. Darkness comes up, overwhelming, self-harm thoughts. I can't even read my own writing. I just want to say thank you. This is when 2 or more are gathered, then Spirit speaks through both of us. That's all. That's all. Yeah.
Yes. Something I love in the course, because oftentimes I find myself at a very kindergarten level, and especially with the withdrawal symptoms and whatnot, sometimes I find myself very like desperately grasping for just something really simple to hang on to. And something I love in the course, it talks about how only my loving thoughts are true.
What's being burned away from us is everything that's not love. That's where all the pain's coming from. And
my thought to step out into traffic is not loving, and it's not true. And the second time that it happened, I just witnessed it. And what was sort of shown to me is that the more solid that I get in my studies and the more centered I get on where I'm going, my direction that I'm leaning into, the more solid that gets, the more darkness comes up. And I have an opportunity now to look at that. And I actually realized when it came up the second time and I was able to just look at it and not judge it, not freak out like, oh my God. And I just looked at it and I realized that that's the ego thought system. And it has nothing to do with me. And it has every intention of curtailing the direction that I'm moving into. Yeah.
You're onto the game. You've solved the Rubik's Cube. Ball's in your court. This is something, Marcy, that can only have come about because of that, dark night of the soul. Unless a person goes to the dark night of the soul, what do you mean ego? This is who I am. What are you talking about? This is who. No, we get a jolt, and for those of us, in this ministry, the jolt was took the form of mental illness and medications. Out of that, we get jolted. It's kind of like think of it like those emergency room doctors who use those electrical paddles.
Mm-hmm.
Dead on arrival. Boom. Heartbeat. Neat. But that jolt restarted our hearts.
Yes.
We've come back to life.
Yes.
We were dead before.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. You can be a gold medal winning athlete, but if your heart's not open, it's dead.
Yes.
That's coming from somebody whose heart was closed for decades. And Jay had to put those paddles on me. Actually, Jay did more than that. He knocked me out. Then he put the paddles on me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Your message, Marcy, is just your message, your ministry is just beginning. That's my, that's my prophecy.
I've this week I've been really guided to look into surrender. And it's weird because it's like the way the world looks at surrender, like, oh, I surrender, a white flag, like I lost the battle, I surrender. And what's being shown to me is surrendering everything, your body, your mind, your finances, your relationships, your all these things. When you go into a deep surrender, there's grace there. I mean, absolute grace. And I don't think spirit can really work with us until we're just laying on the floor with our arms spread out, just
Right.
surrendering.
That's why it's not
Totally.
a popular ministry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've been listening to my friend Dale Blackford, I could tell.
I haven't listened to him for a really long time. I
That's his
love him.
message. He pulled me
Oh,
out of my. He was the first one. I was desperate. I was despondent. I was discouraged, and everyone was agreeing. Yeah, Kenneth is despondent. Kenneth is discouraged. Kenneth is hopeless. We got to run and fix Kenneth. And the more they tried to fix Kenneth, the worse he got, and the worse he got, the more he felt. It was talk about a downward spiral. This crazy man unity minister, and I don't know, it's the Midwest somewhere. Didn't see it that way.
mm,
He said, I can't remember the exact words. He said, I think what he said to me is who you are could never be damaged and you're eternal. And I don't see anything wrong with you. I said, well, isn't my body damaged? He said, you can't be damaged. I heard it.
mm-hmm.
That message would not have come through had I not been on the floor crying for help. And that message came through because I was crying for help. He came through because I was crying for help. I invite every person in this ministry to begin to take copious notes of how these angels are arriving mysteriously without going through, the yellow pages, without, making phone calls. They seem to just show up. How does that seem to be happening? So David Hoffmeister tells us to notice, because I have no explanation. I can't. And you know what? If there's no explanation, then it's a mystery. And if it's a mystery, what does that make us? How about mystics?
I think it's really beautiful how you took Dale Blackford's message and you've turned around and reflected that to other people, like myself. So, like, you're my Dale Blackford.
He said to me things I didn't understand, but he said them with such conviction that I archived them.
Yeah.
One of the things he said is, he was talking something about a character on a movie screen trying to fix the movies from inside the movie. I go, what's this guy talking about? But I am going to take notes.
Mm-hmm.
I get it now.
Yeah.
And that's the whole premise of this ministry is we can't fix, we can't recover from mental illness. He calls it a movie screen. I call it the old paradigm. Call it many different things. Or some people call it the five senses. It's beyond the veils where there's going to, and it's like that poem I just said last week. I wrote a poem called Hand in the Dark. I don't know where I get these hits, but you get them too. You get visions. Mine was a hand in the dark in a snowstorm. I can't see. It's such a blinding blizzard. I can't see, but I'm hearing a voice, and the voice says, "Follow me." Could that have been the same message? When Jesus reached out his hand, and told one of those disciples to walk on the water.
Yes.
I guess that's who we're hearing now.
Yeah. Something I want to touch on too, because I think it's like such a dichotomy. I mean, like in the 3D world. So one day I'm having an urge to step out into traffic. And then, I've been going through kind of a stressful transition time moving for the last couple months. And what I did was I started smoking cigarettes for stress. And, I smoked cigarettes like in high school and whatnot, but, so anyways, and it's just something that didn't really feel good, you know, but it was helping me with the stress. And I knew that when I was ready, I would put them down. And I think it's so interesting because I went to the corner market and I bought another pack of cigarettes. And then I went into really a deep surrender that night. And I included my body in the surrender. And what I was focused on is not viewing my body the way that we normally do, but viewing it only as a communication device and giving it over as much as I can, as I know how to do, to give it over to Holy Spirit to repurpose. And that was like 3 days ago. And the next morning I got up and I can't smoke. So, yeah.
We're not reinventing the wheel here, but we have to just keep repeating it over and over and over with a different language and a different metaphor until something clicks. I'm going to touch the cigarettes in a second, but this is nothing new. Einstein simply said you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created the problem. As far as I can tell, mental illness happens to have been a problem. It's a new mind. Jesus said it all. Jesus said, repent, rethink. What you also said, I think more important than cigarettes, was deep surrender. And I can tell you've been listening. Have you been listening to Keith Kavanaugh?
I follow him. I haven't been doing a deep dive into him because I've kind of been dipping my toes into Calico, but I love Keith Kavanaugh. Yeah.
Okay, Calico's great. No, it's interesting. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, Calico's going to say the same thing that Keith does, but they're all going to, it's going to be their own, from their own perspective. But you use the word deep surrender. And that was what came through when I had the counseling call yesterday. I told her, I said, this is how Keith explained it to me. So maybe I can regurgitate it for this archive, if that would be helpful. Trying to fight the ego is what made us all ill. Okay. And those are the 9 months of gestation period when a person still can fight it. They can still do the world. They can still suppress, they can still keep that beach ball underwater. With positive affirmations or with scripture. That scripture's not the right one. Positive affirmations or distractions. Oh, these have got healthy distractions. We got, earning money. Oh, that's healthy. Well, anyway. But there just comes a time when we can't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's what I refer to as the moment the labor pains start. Mm-hmm. And Keith Kavanaugh explained to me, I guess when a woman goes into labor, she has to be prepared with breathing exercises, I guess. Yeah. Keith Kavanaugh gave me my breathing exercises. He said, no more seeking, no more searching, no more fixing, no more healing, which are all fine. That's fine. But at this moment, we turn the corner, and now comes the allowing. Mm-hmm. What he brought home to me was a closely guarded secret. You see, I had seen awakening as a huge, monumental, ominous task, which required 365 daily lessons, which required, immersion in spirit, on and on. I made it complicated. I do everything complicated. He said, not so. Okay. Once the labor pains have started, it becomes very simple. He said, all those old modalities brought us to the point where we are now. But once, the first contraction, they're actually going to work, they're They're no longer going to be useful anymore, because it's only the ego that wants to heal. It's only the ego that wants to seek. See, the ego wants, even if it's a spiritual seeking. You would think, oh, that's better than a a debauchery seeking. Nonetheless, it's still in the category of seeking. Still leaves us on the timeline. Keith explained. He said, all you have to do is allow. Well, I mean, and I've heard that before, just let go and let go. Well, Keith, it's kind of like, excuse my language, that's a fuck me. But Keith wasn't done yet. He said, follow my logic. He said, the ego resists and the spirit allows. I said, well, people say, I'm not in the spirit. And he said, all you have to do is allow it. And that is coming from spirit. All I have to do is, and this is what you said, Marcy. You said deep surrender. So I'm just putting clarification around what you're already sharing with this Zoom call. All we're being called to do now, all of us, because we are in the delivery room, all of us. Guess what? If you find this Zoom call on a Sunday morning or it's archived, you're in the delivery room. What is it? What is the formula? I mean, we've had over 2 years of complicated metaphysics. That's perfect. Because now we're gonna narrow it down. We're gonna simplify it and say our role is to allow it, and that's what light is. Light is allowing, and when we allow it, all these prophecies from the Course in Miracles, such as it's just a wisp of a cloud. Well, mine is turning out to be just a wisp of a cloud, because while I'm allowing it, I'm peacefully watching it. And that goes back to what you were saying too. You're peacefully watching it. Peacefully watching the ego want to jump out into traffic. So then, I started this whole ministry with the phrase, who you are cannot be damaged. Well, let's apply that to the specific Zoom call. Who is Marcy if she's watching Marcy want to jump out into traffic? Yes. You're the witness of this all. Mm-hmm. A witness is only presence. Thank you, Eckhart Tolle. A witness is only awareness. Mm-hmm. Boom. Yes. You found the awake part. You found the key. You found the part that's already awake. We don't have to go searching for being awake. You found the part that already is and is always and always will be awake. That's as simple as it is.
Yes.
But we didn't get this. We had to get this through the neti approach, which was psych meds, benzodiazepines. In my case, it was meth. I told the whole world, I had to get it. And then came the spiritual retreats, the Byron Katie there. I had to go try until finally the last place to look was the first place that worked. Yeah, to allow it.
I love the allowing, and I want to kind of lean into that a little bit, because we're not making progress towards becoming something. We're allowing the things that are not us to fall away. And that presence in us, who we are, is there at all times, in all moments, no matter what. There's no spiritual enlightenment for me to achieve. There's nothing to achieve. It's all surrender, and it's all allowing, and it's all dropping, just dropping and watching it drop. And some of it's ugly, but underneath is something it's beyond beautiful. It's
where the light is.
Yes.
Light's under the darkness.
Yes.
Through the darkness to the light.
Yeah.
Through.
Yes.
And I've stated this all over on countless Zoom calls, what I tried to do this as a young man, and I had to get thrown back because We can't look at that darkness at all.
Yeah.
Can't, psychiatry is not very helpful at looking into the darkness because psychiatrists are on the movie screen. Most psychiatrists are. I don't want to make a carte blanche or I'll get sued. We've got to find a mighty companion who's off the screen itself.
Mm-hmm.
Just to hold our hand while we look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I find Calico's really, I love her Zoom meetings. And I love how she's so, I think that a strength and a gift that she gives people, at least that she's given me, I'll speak for myself. So because of Calico, it gives me the courage to come on here and speak a lot more openly and authentically. And that is, so I received that. And now it's time to shine it. And I see you doing that too, And it's not, it's like, I used to think that Marcy was going to progress and, become more spiritual and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's all, we're still in the world there. That has nothing to do with it. It's
The nuances are a deep rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
I mean, the ego is going to do, Kenneth Wapnick said it. He goes, maybe foolproof, but it ain't God proof.
Exactly. Yes. And sometimes it's just these little tiny things like holding on to only my loving thoughts are true.
We're at a place now where I'm going to come out and say we could even put aside the book, The Course in Miracles. I think Jesus has got direct contact, and he will give us the date, the lesson we need on what day for what situation. You found yours. Mine this morning came from David, of course. I listened to him and Keith and Calico all day long on these devices. And as I'm feeling completely unworthy, because the last several weeks I've been surrounded by affluence, look at this lovely home I'm living in, more affluence. That was to bring up the worthy. This is perfect that I landed here. I was not landed here on accident. I landed here for a specific purpose because now it's time to face the belief in worthiness. It's no accident my last name is Price. No accident. David read lesson 128, and I can't, but basically, if we're going to go for the gold here, and if you've been diagnosed with mental illness or been on psych meds and benzos, the good news and the bad news. The bad news is you have to go for the gold. The good news is you have to go for the gold. All right, so we've established what this ministry is all about. The ministry is going for the gold. There's nothing from this world that I'm supposed to want anymore. Tell that to someone on the street, they're going to lock me back up. Put it on the Zoom call, and I'm glad. So far I haven't been censored. I think by the grace of God, because this message has to come out. I can't want anything from the world anymore. No more investments. No more, as if that ever kept me safe. The money is actually, when I had the most money, and I was worth over $1 million at one time, I was at my sickest. Now, as I, apply for Medicaid, and I'm beginning to get pop snaps. It's not the money; it's the belief in it. Mm-hmm. It was the belief that it really contained some value. The people in the New Age community, they're just going to click. But once you've been through the ringer, you're ready to hear the message. The only value is my connection to source, period. Value right there. And then if Jesus says you're going to need resources will arrive. If Jesus says you're done with the resources, out the door for the next. We keep moving. We become travelers. And that gets back to lesson 128 when, Jesus said, and I think it was also from the Gospel of Thomas. I don't know, but the message came through from David Hoffmeister. Be passers-by. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I wasn't raised that way, Marcy. God rest the soul of my father. Hold on tight.
Mm.
He even used to tell that to us. He drove this 77 beige Dodge pickup truck, with a rack, and he had 90 acres of terrace property in North County, San Diego. And as a kid, he would say, jump on the back and hold on tight, kids, as he was going up and down the Grove roads. And we held on tight. As he was taking us on those 4-wheel drive trips and the truck was sliding down the ravine, he would say, hold on tight, kids. Well, that was my setup. I chose him as a father because, like I was telling this man that I talked with on the phone this morning, I'm getting commissioned with Living. What's David Hoffmeister's ministry? Living Christ Ministries or something. I get my ordination on Friday. I'm an ordained minister, ordained commissioned minister. So I joined the Tribe of Christ, to start, getting, welcoming new. And anyway, whatever I do, I connected with this lovely man, I think is in Australia. And where am I going with this? I just lost my train of thought. Hold on tight. I told him, I think I said, this is a beautiful thing. We get pushed and we get pulled. All this pain and suffering, and I'm sorry, but in order to wake up, pain and suffering is one of the ingredients. I'm going to get lots of flack from the New Age people, but no, if you want to wake up out of the dream, pain and suffering is necessary because the angels will rush in and provide the pull through the birth canal.
Yeah.
I cut you off. You can say something.
Oh,
now.
no, I was just going to ask you, what time is your ceremony on the 5th?
I don't know. I can kind of get back to you. I haven't put a lot of my mind to it yet. I'm still schlepping long hours here, but I can let you know. I did ask him if I could have guests, and they haven't gotten back to me. I'm getting the feeling there's going to be quite a few people there that are getting commissioned at the same time. So I don't know what their policy is. Kirsten said she would get back to me, but she's always full on. She always has been.
Okay.
I go in and out of mine, and I think it's designed that way.
Yeah.
I can get moments of absolute clarity,
Mm-hmm.
and then and I even have one of the Zoom calls is called Ego Backlash. Now I'm not the same dynamic you are, Marcy. I see it now.
Mm-hmm.
I now know that can't be who I am. That being said, it's putting on Custard's last stand.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
Again, these are very delicate messages to deliver, because I don't ever want to frighten somebody, but I do want to prepare them.
Yes.
And I don't know if prepare is even the right word. I want to. I think I've said it in countless Zoom calls. I want to make it easier for those who come behind me.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what this whole situation is as we're going. We are going through the Great Awakening, by the way. I mean, even Jesus said, he said this told Helen Schuckman. This is just a one step in a great series of steps for something much larger than any one of you could possibly see at this time. This is your role. This is our role. But this human species is going through a great awakening,
Mm-hmm.
and basically pharmaceuticals are go to sleep pills. They're all sleeping pills, and it's time for us to wake up.
Yeah.
That's why we have to get off of them. Had to get off of them. We didn't have to get off of them. We knew we made the decision to wake up, and so they could not. That birth canal is so narrow. Sleeping, pharmaceuticals cannot pass through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think you were going to say something about the cigarettes, because I was talking about how after I went into like a really deep surrender, I just got up the next day and it was no longer a match for me. I mean, it just fell away.
I've started and stopped smoking more times than I can count. And as I continue to walk along this path, it will quit me when it's ready to quit me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I touched on alcohol last week or the week before, but maybe I could even touch on that. I'm living with a man who likes to drink martinis in the evening.
Mm,
And you know the best way I can love him is
mm.
not only to make martinis for him, but to join him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And coming from the 12 steps, it was a forbidden taboo because we were supposed to be
Yeah.
abstinent, for the rest of our life.
Mm,
Now, it's where do I want to go with this? I don't know where I'm going with this, other than to disclose I drink martinis with my roommate in the evening. And I find it to be an experience we get to share together.
mm, mm.
I
So, yeah.
So it's not the abstinence model because I can come here and you know and extend, and then he's going to be gone for 2 weeks. But when he comes back, and I there's no one. I'm not going to be drinking alone here. But when he comes back, we may or may not enjoy martinis again. I don't know what's going to happen here, but you know what, that was off track. I'm sorry. That was I got
No, actually, it
not
was
always
perfect.
flowing.
No, it was perfect because what I heard you saying, okay, so sometimes we get really caught up in form. I don't care if you're drinking a martini or a glass of water. The point is that you're joining with him and connecting with him. And
The highest
that's,
form of love I can offer this man who does it, this is what he wants.
yeah,
And I want what's best for him. I want what's best for him.
yes.
Sometimes I want what's best for me, and it bites me in the ass every time. And so I swallow my pride and I say, how, I don't know. Maybe I'll be here for another 2 months until the job ends. But until this job ends, I've shaken hands on a contract, and I'm going to live in this home, and I'm going to serve to the highest level. And I'm going to shine the light that can penetrate what needs to be penetrated here. Because there's a lot of viscosity here that is not viscosity in that world, but the world I come from has that. I'm not going to even, that's a judgment. There's something we have to offer one another. And I forgot, God damn it, I'm going to be in the middle of that and give it all I've got for the time that's left.
Yes.
And that's the part that's bringing pain, Marcy, because I sense it needs to come to an end. We've already discussed this is temporal.
Wow.
Yeah, it's temporal. After the spring, I must go my own way. I don't know. Probably for the best, because I don't want to go into it here because anonymity.
Well, in the world, like when we are involved in relationships, we judge them like, was it successful? Did you get a divorce? And the thing of it is we're brought together
Thank
to do
you.
the growth that we're supposed to do.
I needed to see my projections. I needed to discover my own unworthiness, secretly hidden. I needed to see all this, and I wasn't going to get it through the living miracle. I love living miracles, but it needed a level of sensuality to pull it out of this man. And I knew it the whole time. I said, I know, and I kept telling the people living miracles, I said, there's something in the gay community for me. I don't know what it is, but I ain't finding it here. Well, guess what? Mystery solved. I found what I was looking for. And this is what my healing looks like. And it goes back to what we were saying, it's just a deep surrender here.
Yes. Yeah. What I'm saying is, if there's any temptation to view the relationship as not being successful, or it is, absolutely. You said, this is what my growth looks like. And growth is beautiful.
And I want to bring this into the context of the ministry itself, because relationships, my first successful relationship with Michael J. Miller in 1987, followed by the breakup, was my first descent into mental illness.
Mm.
1987. This is my life assignment, to face it. I couldn't face it while I was on the screen. I tried it over and over and over, and each time I kept getting thrown back into mental hospitals and psychiatry, until finally, I said, Jesus, are you out there? And if you are, I need help. And now this is my last, this maybe, I don't know, my next to the last, I don't know, in this situation. And this time, I've been able to do just like you have done, make the split, be the one watching the one.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's time to leave here, I'm going to leave here with gratitude. I'm going to leave here with appreciation. I'm going to leave here with sadness.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave here with closure.
Mm. So the classroom that you had in the world that sent you descending into the mental illness,
relationships.
Yeah, it's a reflection of the same classroom, but it's being repurposed.
I have a dynamic, which, it's run of the mill. I either clutch or I push. Come
Mhm.
closer, get away from me.
Mm-hmm.
This is my family lineage, the pattern that the buck stops here. I'm breaking the family cycle. Got it from my father, God rest his soul. Because spirit does neither one of those. It's the ego believing in lack and deficiency. You've got to get something, or you're the cause of something.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't go so far as it has to be the metaphysical Jesus. And I have to bring that point home clear. The Jesus that I grew up with, and you grew up Mormon, sacrificial savior, died for our sins.
Mm-hmm.
Because that story was attached, I couldn't use him. And I needed him the whole time, but because of the attached stories and the misunderstanding of what he was saying, I kept trying to do it on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. And isn't it interesting that the Jesus you were rejecting is not who Jesus is?
I don't know if I was rejecting him. I just didn't know how to use him. I knew he was always there.
Okay.
I just didn't know how to establish the working relationship. And even my father, if you think he said, hold on, kids, he gave us, God rest his soul, some of the advice was just plain awful. He kept saying, you're on your own, kids. You're on your own now. Well, given my level of development, all I could hear was, I'm abandoning you.
Yeah. Oh.
That's what I heard. Because he said, if you're 18, I don't want you coming back here.
Wow.
Not what my mom said, but he said it.
Abandonment.
Big time. So what did I do? Perfect. I said, you know what? I had money. I'll become self-reliant. I played 50-50. He abandoned me. I'll become self-reliant. I don't need anybody. As Thomas Burton said, no man's an island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, as I've shared on the Zoom call, it's my transfer training is underway. I still reach out to people. But it's more now. I got to reach out to Jay. Got to talk to you, buddy.
Yes. Yeah.
I invite and encourage people who enter this ministry to reach out to one another, because that was in my story, and I think that's Spirit speaks through others. The whole world's full of therapists, and for a good reason.
Yes.
Still training wheels.
Yes. 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 And on that note, I had an amazing experience. I actually reached out to somebody in the group, or they reached out to me. And it was really interesting to look, because they're going through this kind of dark feelings that I'm going through. So it's just a reflection. So I know there's other people going through it. I know there is. And we just had this conversation, and I was given so much insight. And, even if you don't get a bunch of insight, sometimes just picking up the phone and having somebody to connect with that understands the backstory, the stories that we've been telling ourselves, is really helpful.
And I want to wrap this up by saying it's there's no formula, there's no carte blanche. We will be guided who we need to reach out to in what circumstance. We
Yeah.
we started the 12 steps in the 80s thinking it was formulatic. Did I say that right? Formulatic. I don't even know if that's a word. It's not. It's a highly individualized curriculum.
Yes.
And this is
Yes.
what ours looks like. And Marcy, we have courage to share ours with the world. And that's
Oh,
what the
yeah.
world needs now. That's what's going to heal this world. We've used it in this ministry over and over. Call them permission slips. It's all right,
Well,
you guys.
you gave me my permission slip, so thank
You know,
you.
it's like Plato's cave. They're just shadows. We can go out into the sun. The we don't need to decorate our prison cells anymore. It's safe to unlock the doors and go.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some tears. We spent more time in the cells than was necessary, but
The
those
doors are
are
open.
doors are open.
The
There we
doors are
go.
open.
We
Yeah.
got it took us 58 minutes to find the title of the Zoom call. The doors are open.
Yeah.
This is Kenneth Price on Sunday, December 31st, and I have had the most insightful and intimate joining with Marcy here on our Zoom call for Sunday morning. And folks, we just laid it all out there, and transparently, the Spirit spoke through both of us, and it's a beautiful thing. And so I'm going to archive this like I do all the Zoom calls, put it on the YouTube, and it's just going to float out there on the World Wide Web for anybody is helpful. And if it is helpful, leave your comments below, like Marcy always does. I'm going to leave down in the description line all the information for this small little cottage ministry. That's just ours. It's for people who, what's the tagline of our ministry? People who have chosen to permeate the veils of mental illness and something along those lines. Look at the website, psychiatricsobriety.com. Even more important, leaving your comments. Join us on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern time. And I'll keep doing this as long as people keep showing up, and as long as this message can serve just one person, then it has a purpose. All right. Marcy and I are going to talk afterwards, but that's the end of the archive. God bless everyone, and may the force be with you. Bye.